to you from Israel and the Galilee. 29th of April, Monday. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and our weather is nice. It's kind of seasonal. We're at, I think, 75 degrees. We'll peak at 84. Not bad. No air conditioning. And then it's going to get a little cooler as we go on. Tomorrow we'll hit highs of 80, then highs of 81, and then 80 and 83, and then we'll have a little spike on the weekend, Sunday and Monday, 87 on Sunday, 94 on Monday, and then we'll go back down again. And I don't see any more rain, but it did rain the other day. I don't know, maybe I forgot to tell you. Anyway, I'm going to go into the chat now and make sure we got sound and picture and people coming in and all the other things that need to be done. And it's rather pointless to tell people not to post till I put my posts up. There's always somebody that does. But if you can wait till I get my posts up, go ahead. Okay. I'm getting my posts up now. It's not going to take long. Just another few seconds. Then feel free to post. I'll give you the all clear for posting. Give me a little time, very quick. Okay, I got my posts up. I'm not sure we're going to have a lot of people coming in today because it's a Bible study, but you never know. I'll do the, let me do the praise. And first, since we're a Bible believing site, there is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, Gaza, the war, ceasefire. The indications are coming in that Hamas is agreeing to some proposal Israel very recently made to them. Apparently, Biden got 17 nations to tell Hamas to settle this thing. The way that is usually done is settle this thing or Israel's going to demolish you. Israel said this is their last chance and then we're going to go into Rafah. Now, we don't know exactly what was agreed to, but it sounds like 33 hostages from Hamas, which would be women, children, the elderly over 50, so it could be men over 50, and the sick. The others, which would probably be women and men that were in the military that they have as hostages, are not going to be included as I get it. Possibly they would include women soldiers, but I doubt it. In return for that, I would say Israel will, at the dead bare bones minimum, be giving them 330 terrorist prisoners in Israel. And that would be the low. I would say the high would be 600 or 800. Now, what's Netanyahu going to do? Well, the Knesset too. From what I heard, this ceasefire does not have any permanence to it. It does not require Israel to completely leave Gaza. It would mean no further attacks, but the soldiers would, of course, defend themselves. I'm thinking. Would it allow freedom of movement? Could the terrorists in Rafah mingle back to the central and northern part of Gaza? This we don't know. Probably to some extent just dressed as civilians. Would they be able to carry weapons with them? I doubt it, because they would be inspected as they're crossing up higher into Gaza. So I don't know what the details are. I just don't know. Nobody really knows for sure. We know what the proposals are, but it's not finalized, and Hamas is probably leading Israel on by saying, oh, we don't take, objection with this, but will they actually go through with it, or will they switch and add more terms? The minimum ceasefire would be 6 weeks, in my opinion, from what I know. The maximum would be 12 weeks. This is what's going to happen if it goes through. Within 2 weeks or less, you see, Hamas is going to tell the world that they won the war. Now, that's insane, because of the amount of their dead and the destruction of their, whatever they call it, their country. Gaza is a junk heap. The water's damaged, the phones are damaged, the electricity's damaged, the internet's off and on. I mean, the stores, the shops, the malls, the houses, the apartments, something like weeks and weeks ago was about 85% of every home was damaged. It could be up to 90% by now. I mean, that figure goes back 2 months. So there's a lot of destruction, okay? And what would happen is I would give Gaza or Hamas 2 weeks, and they would start launching missiles again. You have to understand, Iran, Qatar, all these other oil-rich Muslim nations give them money, lots and lots of money. The heads live like billionaires, millionaires. The top dog in Hamas is rumored to be richer than Donald Trump. So they're very wealthy, okay? And they want that money coming in, for sure. So how does this play out? Well, they aren't going to be getting a lot of money forever if they don't do anything against Israel. So they will break the ceasefire. And the way they do it, I've lived here for a number of years. I know their modus operandi. They always break ceasefires, okay? Sometimes in as little as 24 hours. They can't do an incursion through our borders because they're surrounded by soldiers. So that's off the table. They have no Air Force and Navy. That's off the table. So the only thing they can do is launch their rockets out of Gaza into Israel, and that they will do. Now, they're not going to try launching rockets like 50 at a time or 100 at a time, because that's going to get Israel, really reflexively to retaliate against them and declare the ceasefire over. They'll launch 6, 8, 10, 12, and then stop. Okay? And in the Arab newspapers and the Arab media, it'll go out that they're continuing the fight against Israel, even though it's a ceasefire. What will Netanyahu do? Nothing. Will he fire back at the locations that launched the missiles? Maybe, but probably not. So I'm serious. Will he go back and invade Gaza? Well, they're still going to have soldiers there, is my understanding, so there's no reason to do that. What in the world will Netanyahu do? Well, he'll call Biden on the phone and say, "What the heck you want me to do, Joey?" And they'll go around like that, and they'll say, "Wow, it was just a few rockets, couple of Wahoos launched them. Forget it, So, Biden is perturbed because of the protests on the campuses, and that is hurting him in the polls. He's down about 6 points below Trump. Now, Trump is not looking good these days. All these trials have taken its toll on him. He's basically at a point waiting for the Supreme Court to render a decision on him having relatively blanket immunity from any criminal prosecutions pertaining to matters he did while he was president. Now, he might win that. Some legal experts that are giving opinions think he's looking good, but we haven't seen the decision yet, so we got to wait for that. If they give him immunity, his criminal cases go away, and they're just moot. They're dismissed. Okay? His lawyers will file a motion declaring the trial, the whole process moot because of the immunity. It'll be a big document, probably 3-4 pages, and motion the court to dismiss the case. So nobody won. The case is thrown out because it has no basis in law anymore. It's moot. They can't go anywhere with the case. Trump's not countersuing the criminal prosecutors, so he has no rights. So they just say they can't possibly win. It's ridiculous, and then it's gone. So then he's left with, I think, some civil matters, which he could care less about. Nothing in the civil courts is going to do anything to stop him from running for president, and nothing's going to bar him from being president. It's all irrelevant to his criminal case. So he'll probably disassociate himself with that to the greatest extent and let his top legal teams take care of it, and he'll just go back on the campaign trail and try to get involved with the criminal cases as little as he possibly, with the civil cases, as little as he possibly can. They're not worth his time, Whatever happens with those will go on appeals, and he probably figures by the time the appeals run out and the trials are over, he'll be in the White House. That's how he's looking at it. I'm not, but that's how he's looking at it. And but that's it. I mean, that's So if Biden, Biden and his whole administration, in my opinion, are dumbbells. Okay, they don't know what they're doing. And the whole, the Blinken, the Jake Sullivan, the whole kit and caboodle in them, they don't know what they're doing. So This scares him with the campuses because of the publicity, the anti-Semitism, and it shows the country being divided, ripped apart. And, you know, looking at Bible prophecy for the daughter of Babylon, I think it's going to just continue to get worse. So he's going to try to end the fight in Gaza, and the cries of genocide and stuff he believes are going to go away. I don't believe they're going to go away. I think they're going to continue. Why? Israel is going to then bear down on Hezbollah very harshly. Now, one might say Hezbollah will stop the fighting because there's a ceasefire with Hamas, but that doesn't mean that Israel's going to not attack Hezbollah. Israel has to let the people in the border area of Lebanon and Israel, which is circa 100,000 people displaced from their houses, go back home. Okay? So they're going to keep it up. That would mean to me that the Houthis are going to keep it up. They attacked an American warship the other day, and they, previous to that, attacked a merchant vessel. So they're back in the attacking ship business in the Red Sea and the Sea of Aden in the south of, to the south of Yemen. They're back in the thick of it. So my guess is the Iranian warship is back in the area. And, you know, Biden, Jake Sullivan, and the whole lot of them don't know what to do. They can't get out of this. It doesn't go away. And it's not going to go away. So Netanyahu's going to want to stay in office. And the political analysts are saying that if there is a real ceasefire, Netanyahu's coalition is going to fall apart. And that would be for two reasons. One is because a lot of people in his coalition won't like what he did. And that's really the big one. All right, I'll be back in a second. Hold on. Whoops. All right, I can't step on you little guys here. What the people in Israel don't understand is this is Biden bearing down on Netanyahu incredibly hard. And he just gave Israel $26 billion of aid. And I don't hear a peep out of Biden or Jake Sullivan or Blinken at all about the situation in Lebanon. They're silent about it. So it appears strongly that they don't care if Israel goes and wipes out Hezbollah. France is probably an advocate of that because France doesn't want to see the whole Lebanon getting demolished because they sort of have a lot of interests in Lebanon. They do, economic and military, and but they're not going to go in and fight themselves. Macron's not that much of a gutsy fellow, so he ain't going to do anything of the sort. So let Israel do it, clean up the problem for him. And America listens to Macron to some extent. The aircraft carrier left the Red Sea, so that means at this point in time they have no interest in continuing bombing Yemen, and Yemen's taking it. But they do have destroyers there. There's still some warships around. So I'm not sure Ben Gvir and Smotrich are going to blow the coalition over a decent 33 hostages for a 6-week or so ceasefire. They may put up with that. And Netanyahu's going to be worried, so he's going to want to go to Lebanon and Hezbollah. Now, what if Hezbollah turns around and says, oh, we're going to also ceasefire? And I don't know for sure what will happen, but I doubt it. I doubt they'll stop. So that's what's going on. If there is a ceasefire, Hamas will break it lightly once. If they get away with that, 2, 3, 4 days later, they'll do it again and again and again, and then Netanyahu has to blow it. Netanyahu won't blow the ceasefire until they shoot rockets and missiles into Israel repeatedly. The people that have returned to their homes in the south near Gaza, which most of them have, many have, are going to be very perturbed at him. So whatever Netanyahu does is going to turn against him, and whatever this idiot Biden does is going to turn against him too. Okay? They're not going to get anywhere with it. Israel is not going to get any land back until the 2 witnesses take care of it in Zechariah 12. Then they will. And we're going to see that from another perspective, from another prophet today, Micah. So this peace treaty, as I've been telling you for months, there may very well be a peace treaty or a ceasefire, but it won't last. And I don't think Netanyahu has any authorization of the rest of the government to do any permanent ceasefire. Now, Biden has publicly said if they have a 3-month peace treaty, it'll never start up again. He'll see to it, and other countries will see to it. But don't think Netanyahu's going for a 3-monther. I think he's probably he'd like to go for 2 weeks, but Hamas needs more than that. So I think it would be probably 6 weeks or thereabout. If he goes for a 3-month ceasefire, I think his coalition might break. And then would have a vote of no confidence, and Gantz would get in. And Gantz is not really any better than Netanyahu at all. It'd just be slightly different, more friendly to Biden and stuff like that, So that's where we're at now. The pier, the temporary floating pier in Gaza is being built, but it's not ready. And Hamas is shooting at it, mortars. So they want to destroy the pier. There's not enough now to really shoot at avidly, so they're probably waiting for it to get built up more and then try to hit it with mortars. Because they're relatively convinced that the American troops won't do anything to them, as evidenced by Biden's weakness, blown about by every political wind, and what's going on the college campuses, which is just going to get worse. Why? Because, well, some of the police are arresting them. these bad protesters. And what happens to them? They go to jail, they get booked, they get released in their own recognizance. So if they're in jail 6 or 8 hours, that's probably about right. Okay? That's it. And they wouldn't even be in jail. They would be in holding cells in groups where they're under camera and closely watched. So it's not going to be very violent in there. They watch that pretty carefully. There'd be, you know, correction officers or sheriffs or police, right outside the holding cell. And, in a matter of seconds, they could get in there and break up fights. And there won't be a big deal. So anyway, that's not going to deter them. They're going to keep escalating and escalating and escalating. They're trying to keep Jews off the campus in some schools, saying they can't go to the campus. This is Nazism. And Trump and Biden is at wit's end as to what to do. He's at wit's end about everything. Gold and silver are kind of hanging static right now. Silver in the 27s and gold in the 2330s. The US dollar is not really getting any weaker. It's kind of holding its own, I guess, somewhat. The shekel's weakened a little, which could be, well, against the dollar, which could be the dollar is a little stronger. So, the dollar might actually be getting a little stronger. The euro is, 1 euro is worth $1.07. The British pound is worth $1.25. And, it's been around that level for quite a while. So that's what I'm pretty sure will happen if they get a ceasefire. Now, there's a substantial chance that Hamas is just giving lip service to the negotiators in Israel, and push comes to shove, they'll create some demands at the last minute they won't budge on that'll cause the ceasefire to collapse. High probability we'll see that. They're trying to get the hopes up of the hostages' friends and families. The reason they want to hold back a bunch of hostages, if they really have that many, is because they know that they're going to be re-attacking Israel, and they want to have some trump card to play. So they want more. They want hostages still there. That's what is going on. News, as some of you know from my Telegram, this past week has been sort of light because I'm not getting a lot of news out of the Israeli social media because of the Passover holiday. Many people leave Israel for Passover because they don't want to put up with eating, unleavened, and so they go to Europe or America or someplace like that. So I think today is a legal holiday in Israel, but I am not sure, because generally the first day of Passover is the holiday, and tonight it's over. So I think some businesses are not functioning today, but I don't think it's universal. I think some. That's about it. So things will start to bounce back late tonight and tomorrow, and we'll get more news from the social media. The mainstream media, I use it and I post it on Telegram from time to time, but very often it's watered down, and it's not really good news. But sometimes it is insightful, so I do put it up. We just took a big barrage, maybe 30 minutes ago from Hezbollah. Let me take a look and see where they hit. Oh, where is this now? There it is. Let's see what happened. Yeah, it came in by the border, I believe. Yeah, Kiryat Shmona, that's up there. It wasn't a massive barrage, maybe I would say less than 10, but it was still enough, you know. Well, we have another one biting the dust. Spain's prime minister has announced. Hold on a second, I'll read it to you in a second. Spain Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez to announce at 1000 GMT time. Oh, if he is quitting official. Okay, he may not quit. We'll have to see. He may not quit. The Scotland's First Minister, that's his title, his office, Humza Yousaf, guess where he's from, is set to resign. You know, there's a lot of them going down. Ron DeSantis is expected to campaign for Trump after they just had a meeting. So that would mean Trump may appoint him in some high capacity job in the White House or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe, who knows? He may not want that. So we took a substantial hit from Hezbollah in Lebanon. I don't know if any damage was done, but there was a bunch of launches. So Israel, following the rules in the Middle East, which I wish they wouldn't do, but they do, they'll return the fire back on the areas that launched against us. During the night, the Israeli Air Force was bombing Rafah and other parts of Gaza. It hasn't been released in Israel in the news, but the Arab news is running the story because they are in communication with the Arabs that live in Gaza. The U.S. said they thwarted an attack by the Houthis in the Red Sea of 5 drones simultaneously, I believe. They raised the Palestinian flag on the campus of Harvard yesterday. Israel might be bombing Rafah for a week or two more before they go in, or they may just go in. It was about 20 launches into the north of Israel a few minutes ago. Most were intercepted. And I don't have any reports of property damage or personnel damage, but they'll come in if there were any. But there's nothing yet. And I expect there won't be. There probably wasn't any damage. Other reports are saying it wasn't 20 missiles or rockets, it was 30. So it's probably between 20 and 30. Again, most were knocked down by the Iron Dome, and I don't know what happened with damage or anything like that at this point in time. But when I do, I'll have it on Telegram. Okay, let me peek in the chat here and see if I gotta throw the garbage out or anything. Let's see. Oh, I don't see any questions or anybody trying to curse us or. I never heard Netanyahu's cousin is running Argentina. I never heard that. I think it would be all over the place if it was true, but I never heard that. Okay. Micah. And we'll go to Micah 4. Micah comes after Jonah and before Nahum. Now, Micah illustrates to us the Zechariah 12, Jeremiah 30, birth pangs, travail, nation, born in a day. And, well, I'll just start in verse 1, Micah 4, and I'll, develop it as we go. But in the last days, that's now, it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of Jehovah shall be established in the top of the mountains, and it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. So it'll be the highest mountain in Israel and probably in the world. For sure around Israel. And many heathen shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of Jehovah, and to the house of Elohim of Yaakov. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, for the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of Jehovah from Jerusalem. Well, that's the same law that the church has been teaching 2 billion people is done away with, And this is post Zechariah 12, obviously. And he shall judge among many people, and the word is people, not heathen, and rebuke strong nations afar off. Rebuke is like to judge, okay? And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. No more war colleges, huh? Okay, so at the end of Zechariah 12, the nations are so busted up, confused, bewildered, scared. That's the end of the wars for a while. This is that 70-year period that starts with the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power, coming like lightning from the east to the west. Now, this you see manifested in Zechariah 12, verse 10, and you got to read it with John 6:40. Those that believe that look upon him shall have everlasting life. Now, everlasting life does not mean you're not going to die. It's a long, long lasting life. We have scriptures that say, my people's days shall be like that of a tree, which can live 2,000-3,000 years, I suppose. A child shall die 100. This is what this is talking about. In New Jerusalem, when you drink of the water of life and eat of the tree of life, it says in New Jerusalem there shall be no more death. Okay, so that's different. Okay. But they shall sit every man under his vine. So in other words, with the eternal life, it's a life that lasts a long time. It's a healing. In Malachi 4, you read of the Israelites jumping out of the stall like a calf because they're healed up. They're like young again. And, in the days pre-flood, they lived, I think, almost 1,000 years. But you really just have to make it 70 years till New Jerusalem from, Zechariah 12:10. So it's going to be sufficient for that. But you'll be very fruitful and multiply and have many children, and there'll be polygamy then, because 7 women will surround the guy, because there's going to be a severe man shortage, and say, we'll buy our own clothes and food, let us just have your name, which means married. So the way, we're going to multiply on the land is going to be that way. 1 man and 1 woman can produce every 9 months, unless the Lord shortens the gestation period, which I didn't read anything about, but maybe it's there and I don't know of it. I just have never found anything like that. And I do believe the women won't have the birth pangs anymore. And I would also expect the menstrual cramping would be gone too. Okay? And would the whole menstrual cycle thing be gone? This I don't know. I have no knowledge one way or the other. But I think that it'll be peaceful, easy birthing. And so one guy has 7 wives, and he could, reproduce, 7 kids in 9 months. Okay, and that's not allowing for twins and triplets and so forth. Okay. Says, for the Lord shall go forth out of Zion, and the word of Jehovah from Jerusalem. And the churches, of course, don't follow the gospel. They have another gospel. That's a polite way of saying they don't follow the Bible, but they have their own religion. Their religion is not the Bible religion, Old and New Testament. The rabbi's religion is another religion. It's not the Old and the New Testament. Okay? The Mormons have another religion. The Jehovah's Witnesses have another religion. The Christian Scientists have another religion. The Catholics, the Evangelicals, the Pentecostals, the nominal Christians, they have another religion. They do not follow the Bible. Okay? They don't. They're not going to make it. Okay? Galatians 5, I'll do this quick because most of you guys know this. Galatians 5:19-21. Now this is in the New Testament. And then they read this and they do it anyway. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these. Adultery. They sort of refrain from that. But the church allows a lot of incorrect divorces and remarrying, so they don't refrain from that. But that's not my emphasis. Fornication, uncleanness. Fornication they tend to forbid, but they tolerate it usually. Uncleanness, they don't know what that is. Lasciviousness, that's like porn, strip joints. Idolatry, they practice that with the cross, but they don't know that. Witchcraft, hatred, variance. Now, I don't even know what variance is. Variance, an example of variance is when the churches have different doctrinal statements, yet they accept everybody else's doctrinal statements as valid because they teach the people what we don't know. So, well, that's how they believe. They're not in one accord, like Yeshua and his Father were one. And the early church in the book of Acts, chapter 2, was united. They were one in the apostles' doctrine. They're not in these churches because these churches aren't of Jehovah. A house divided unto itself cannot stand. And they are a house divided, okay? Variance means like different doctrinal statements. Pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, amillennial. They're all wrong, but all the churches, 3,500 denominations consisting of 2 billion people with the Catholics and the other Christian denominations, follow variance. Immersion baptism, sprinkled baptism, pray for the dead, don't pray for the dead, have idols, don't have idols, meet in houses, meet in buildings, pray in tongues, don't pray in tongues, baptize in the Holy Spirit, don't baptize in the Holy Spirit. See what I'm saying? This is variance. Emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, this is where they hang themselves. The word for sedition is division. A denomination is a perfect sedition or division. It's not 99%, it's 100%. It's a perfect division. And they practice this. The Messianic congregations do it too. They call it umbrella organizations, like the Union of Messianic Jewish Congregations. They have doctrinal statements. Okay? They practice it. Okay? Seditions, heresies. Heresies is sort of like seditions, sects and cults, and they do that too. Envyings, murders. So notice that the variance and the divisions is right up there with murders. Now, you told the church people, is God going to put up with you going around murdering people? They're going to say no. Adultery, some probably won't say no, some will. Drunkenness, most would say no to that. Revelings, that's like going to a rage party or, a wild party. And such like of the which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Okay? They're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. They're goners. They're going to be gone in the next few weeks or months. They're not making it, They're not going to make it. They're not God's people. You got to understand that. Okay? Now they'll tell you, well, we're not perfect. Why should the church be perfect and stuff like that? It's because you reject knowledge and Yeshua is going to reject you. They read this and they do it anyway. Yeshua said 4 times when the rapture is. It's on the last day. And the last day means there's no more days, which means it's after the millennium, after Satan's released, and gathers them like the sand of the sea around New Jerusalem and Jerusalem, and God the Father comes down and burns the whole universe up, and we meet him in the air because there's nothing to stand on, and we go up on the clouds of heaven to spend eternity with Jehovah and Yeshua. Okay? That's the last day. Now, John 6:40, and this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. So all the believers go up on the last day. And this John 6:40 should be read with Zechariah 12:10 for you to have an understanding of it, and also Malachi chapter 4 verses 1, 2, and 3. John 6:39, and this is the Father's will which hath sent me. This is Jehovah's will, that of all which he hath given me, that's all the believers, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. That's the resurrection, that's the rapture, the last day. That's the will of God the Father. What's the will of Satan? A pre-trib rapture, a mid-trib, a post-trib. Okay? They reject knowledge. Now, Yeshua said it again, John 6:44. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him, and I will raise him up at the last day. He said it again, a third time. And then he says it again a fourth time in John 6:54. Whoso eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood hath eternal life. That means the believers. And I will raise him up at the last day. Okay? So the church is not, like they're not awake. And they're a completely different religion, just like the rabbis with the Talmud. It's a completely different religion. It's not Judaism. Judaism would be following the Old Testament without the New Testament. That's the world's interpretation. But they follow a completely different book. The church uses the correct book, but they obfuscate it. They twist it, conceal it, turn it, and put all kinds of false doctrines in there. They are not of us. Don't think they are. How can two walk together unless they be agreed? And that's why you can't walk with them. They don't agree with anything that you have with the true gospel. They hate the true gospel. I'll be right back. It's hard for us to get bread these days because they don't sell bread in the kosher supermarkets. So my wife's going to the Arab supermarket to get bread, but this is my bread these days. They don't observe the holidays correctly, nor do they observe them on the right dates. This is not Passover. They think it is. It's not. Okay. So, let's see how many people we scared away. Oh, we got rid of a few. Sweden, Harlem, okay. I grew up in the Bronx. I know Harlem. All right, back to Micah. And he shall judge among many people and rebuke strong nations. Now, the word for rebuke is yakach. Judge is what he's doing. They say rebuke. See, they're twisting this stuff around. They want you to think, oh, you're going to punish them. That's not what Jeremiah 30:11 says. He says he's going to destroy all the nations that he sent the Israelites into over the many, many, many centuries. And that's 125 nations. Okay? That's a lot of nations. And that's tied right in with the birth pangs and the birth of a nation in a day. Jeremiah 30, you should read it. Rebuke strong heathen nations. That's what the word would mean, goyim. It would mean the heathen nations are far off. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up a nation against a nation, neither shall they run war no more. Now, when the Gog and Magog war comes, in the book of Joel, you see it, and in Ezekiel 38:39, they beat their plowshares back into swords, and their pruning hooks back into spears, I think it says, so they reverse it. But they shall sit every man under his vine, that's the grape harvest, the 5th month, and under his fig tree, that's the 6th month, the harvest for the figs. And none shall make them afraid. For the mouth of Jehovah of armies hath spoken it. For all, would you get off the cord, Yafa? For all people will walk everyone in the name of his God. So the nations are still walking in the name of their God, which there's only one God, Jehovah, and those aren't it. And we, speaking of Israel, the word is anaknu, which is we. It means, like in English, we. We will walk in the name of Jehovah, Elohim, forever and ever. Forever and ever, we're going to walk forever and ever. You got your everlasting life, and then you'll have your eternity when you get into New Jerusalem. See how, that's how God's seeing it. Of course, the church misses this. In that day, saith, you see, they think I'm teaching Judaism properly, right? That's one of the reasons I wear cowboy type hats, so they don't know what hole to stick this peg into. But I'm Old Testament and New Testament, They hate Israel. They don't want anything to do with Israel. And they're going to have their way. In that day, saith Jehovah, will I assemble her that halteth, and will gather her that is driven out, and her that I have afflicted. I never really talk about this, but in the 90s when I was living here, they drove me out. They ran me out. Satan and his believers did. Not with violence, in other ways. the government never ran me out. I couldn't get a job. I'd go for interviews and it would fail. So I decided I would go back to the old pond and get better at Hebrew, which would open up the job prospects. And they came and threw me out of the old pond one day, which were the false believers doing it, you know. And I will make her that halteth a remnant. Now that's the one that's stooped over, feeble. We read that in Zechariah also, 12, I think, verse 6. And her that was cast far off, a strong nation. And Jehovah shall reign over them in Mount Zion from henceforth even forever. And there's a time when the glory of God of Israel leaves the temple in the Garden of God days, but I believe it's only 45 days. And thou, O tower of the flock, and when he leaves, he's on the Mount of Olives, which is a third of a mile to the east. And thou, O tower of the flock, the stronghold of the daughter of Zion, that's us. Unto thee shall it come, even the first dominion. The kingdom shall come to the daughter of Jerusalem. Okay? The word for kingdom, Malachi. Kingdom, reign. Kingdom's good. Now, why dost thou cry out loud? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counselor perished? For pangs have taken thee as a woman in travail. That's Jeremiah 30. They're gripping their loins like a woman in travail. It's the same thing. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, that's us, like a woman in travail, right? The same as in Jeremiah 30. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city and shall dwell in the field. Now, the word for city why are we dwelling in the field? Are the cities destroyed? I don't know. What does Strong call this word for cities? Let's see. Yeah, a building or a city. And thou shalt go to Babel. Now I'm gonna have to open this up here because they translated it stupidly. All right. The word "and thou shalt go" is 4 words. In Hebrew, it's 1. It's bo. It means go or come. The word "even" is not there. The word "to," it doesn't mean to. It means as far as. Okay. Against, which would also mean as far as. So, go even to Babel. Now, it doesn't say the daughter of Babel. In the Bible, God doesn't call, Babylon Iraq, which is what the modern word would be. So, is saying that when we go and conquer more land, we're going to go up even to Babylon or against Iraq, is what it's saying. We would call it Iraq. Now, it might also mean the daughter of Babylon, when you look at this another way. Thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There Jehovah shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. So it could really mean, it's talking about those of you that are in America. I think that's a better explanation, those of you that are in America. Which is substantial. There's just about as many Jews from Judah in America as there are in Israel. So then when you get into the lost tribes and true believers, it really grows. Now also many heathen are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, and let her eye look upon Zion. Our eye look upon Zion means to invade. Now, are they gathered together against us now? Yeah. Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, the Houthis, you could say, Iraq, you could say, yeah. But they know not the thought of Jehovah. Jordan is not exactly gathered together against us right now. A lot of the occupants of Jordan are, but the government's not. But they know not the thoughts of Jehovah, neither understand they his counsel. For he shall gather them as the sheaves unto the floor. That's the harvest. You separate the tares from the wheat. You burn the tares up. And you gather the wheat into the barn. And that's the tares and the wheat in Matthew 13. Okay? Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, that's us, for I will make thy horn iron, and will make thy hoofs brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto Jehovah, and their substance unto the Lord Adonai of the whole earth. Probably referencing the glory of God of Israel. See, that's like in Isaiah 60, they're going to carry, and 60 to 66, they're going to carry the children of Israel back and transport them back to Israel as an offering unto the Lord, and give wealth and riches. And then they're going to remain as our servants or slaves, because Jeremiah 30:11, he will destroy all the nations he gathered the Israelites into. It doesn't say he's going to kill every one of them. They're going to have no country to live in anymore. So they're going to want to live in Israel, which is going to have great food and everything else. And the kings and the rich and those that survive will be happy to stay here as slaves or servants. Their other option would be starve to death, get eaten by beasts or stuff like that. Okay, now we're going to go to, you see how beautiful this is? It's Jeremiah 30 and Zechariah 12 from another prophet. Now we're going to go to Micah 5. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. This isn't Israel. I thought it was. It's not. It's speaking about our lovely neighbors in Lebanon and Gaza and Syria in Yemen, Iraq, and all this, okay? He has laid siege against us. The us is us. The daughter of troops is laying the siege against us. They shall smite the judge of Israel with a rod upon the cheek. Okay, the word for judge here is shafat, which is a judge, the governor. It's the top dog in the political structure here in Israel, which many times Israel had no king, they had judges. It was a top position. It's Netanyahu. With a rod upon the cheek, it means make him look like a jackass, like a jerk. Insult them, and that's what they're doing. And Biden is helping them. But thou, Bethlehem, it's actually in Hebrew, Beit Lechem, house of bread. He's the bread of life. Got it? Beit is house. Lechem is bread. Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel, whose going forth have been from of old, from everlasting. That's Yeshua. Therefore will he give them up until the time that she with travaileth hath brought forth. Jeremiah 30. They're going to clutch their guts out of fear, and their faces are going to turn pale. And then there's going to be the appearing of the Son, Man in the cloud, and they're going to look upon him, and they're going to have the Spirit poured out on them before the appearing, just before. It's all found in Zechariah 12:10. And being believers, because the Spirit was poured out on them, they're going to be changed and be like him, and they'll have the everlasting life. Be like them, because the law is going to be put in their inward parts and written in their hearts. Jeremiah 31, I think, like verses 31 to 33. They shall all know him from the least to the greatest. That's being like Yeshua. They're not going to have eternity yet. That comes when they go into New Jerusalem, and Yeshua says, drink freely of the water of life and eat of the tree of life. All you want, it's all free. Go get it. He'll probably add in blessed of my Father, but that's okay. Until the time that she with travaileth hath brought forth. And this is going to be the beginning of the second 70 of Daniel 9:24, which in the Hebrew, every single Hebrew manuscript does not say 70 weeks. It says 70. The first 70 was 70 years of captivity in Babylon. This is the next 70-year period. And at the end of it, there's a great falling away, which they call Gog and Magog. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. That's the next great Exodus, which will happen during the year of redemption. And it follows the siege in Zechariah 12, when that's over. When the enemy loses, because when you read Zechariah 12 carefully, like in verse 6, the two witnesses are there and they burn the enemies up on the right hand and the left. Not one Israelite that's left at that time has a sprained ankle or a broken fingernail. And that's Jacob's trouble, which in Jeremiah 30, I think verse 6 or 8, it says, Jacob's trouble, great is Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Well, they're saved out of it. And he shall stand and feed in the strength of Jehovah, in the majesty of the name of Jehovah Elohim. And they shall abide for now shall he be great unto the ends of the earth. The word for great is gadol. Great or high, big. A Kohen is a priest. The Kohen Gadol was the high priest, if that helps you with the word Gadol. And this man shall be the peace. Now, who was the peace offering? Yeshua, the peace offering was a lamb, not the sin offering was a steer. You don't read scriptures where it said, behold, the steer of God, like a Texas Longhorn, you don't have that. To have peace with God, of course, he had to take care of the sins. Shall be peace when the Assyrian shall come into our land. Now, what it says, in reality, it says Assyrian come, bo, which means come, and then it says Haaretz, land, and then it says when he shall tread in palaces, then shall we raise against him 7 shepherds and 8 principal men. I don't know who they are. Now, the Assyrian, that's from the Assyrian Empire. Okay, now let's see if, let me get a map out of this. Bible map Assyria. Yeah, it keeps saying the wrong word. Okay, I gotta type Assyria or it won't get it right. Oh, it's so annoying. Well, let me see if I can find a good map. This might work. No. Trying to get good Bible type maps out of Google used to work some years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And all of a sudden it stopped working. I wonder why. I want to try something where I can identify the modern countries. Most of these are worthless. Let's see. I'll keep looking for a decent map. May get lucky. I'm trying to see if Iran is included at this, but I think I got a good map now. Not good enough. Hold on. I think so, but let me keep looking for a good map here because that could be important. Um, I'm not getting any with their lousy maps. I got another idea. Well, it's pretty interesting. So Assyria was located in the northern part of Mesopotamia, which corresponds to most parts of modern day Iraq. He said we shall go to Iraq, as well as parts of Iran, Kuwait, Syria, and Turkey, and had relatively humble beginnings as a non-state. Okay, let me see if there's other. Another source says it's basically northern Iraq and southeastern Turkey. Let me get another consensus here. Another one says it's Iraq, Syria, and part of Turkey. I think Iran, part of Iran, is in this though. See, they mess with the biblical countries too. I think National Geographic or something refers to it as including Iran too. So anyway, we get an idea. Back to the scriptures. Though I'm back in Micah 5:6. The Assyrian, when he cometh into our land, and when he treadeth within our borders. Well, the IRGC is from Iran, the Iraqi militias, the Syrian militias, Syria, Iraq, the governments, Kuwait, and all the lovely people that hate us. Micah 5:7, and the remnant of Yaakov shall be in the midst of many people as a dew from Jehovah, as the showers upon the grass that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of man. And the remnant of Yaakov shall be among the heathen in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of sheep, who, if he goeth through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Okay, so what are we getting here? This is the people that are believers in Yeshua that see the sign of Son of Man in the clouds and are changed while they're in the other countries. Then they come to Israel, stopping in the wilderness. And that's what this is depicting. And you could see the manifestation of the everlasting life, portraying you as a lion that you could run through the herd and they can't do anything to stop you. Thy hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thy enemies shall be cut off. And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Jehovah, that I will cut off the horses out of the midst of thee, and I will destroy thy chariots. This is in Zechariah 12, where the horses are blinded and confusion and astonishment. It's not referencing Israel's horses, and the chariots could be, the horses and the chariots are probably, weapons of warfare, tanks, jeeps, whatever. And I will cut off the cities of thy land and throw down all thy strongholds. He's still talking to the enemy. I will cut off witchcrafts out of thy hand, and thou shalt have no more soothsayers. Thy graven images also will I cut off, and thy standing images out of the midst of thee. And thou shalt no more worship the work of thy hands, and I will pluck up thy groves out of the midst of thee. So will I destroy thy cities, and I will execute vengeance in anger and fury upon the heathen, such as they have not heard. You see, it's not applying to Israel. It's applying to the nations, all the nations that he dispersed the Israelis to since he began dispersing them. I reckon 100, 125 nations. Micah 6. Hear you now what Jehovah saith. Arise, contend thou before the mountains, and the hills hear thy voice. Hear ye, O mountains, the Jehovah's controversy, and you strong foundations of the earth, for Jehovah hath a controversy with his people, and he will plead with Israel. He will judge Israel. Okay, so he has a controversy with the heathen over Zion, and he has a controversy with Israel. O my people, what have I done unto thee, and wherein have I wearied thee? Testify against me, for I brought thee up out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed thee out of the house of servants. And I sent, you see, we were servants in our captivity, and the heathen are going to be our servants. Out of the house of servants, and I sent before thee Moses and Aaron and Miriam. O my people, remember now what Balak, king of Moab, consulted, and what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him from Shittim unto Gilgal, that you may know the righteousness of Jehovah. Wherewith shall I come before Jehovah and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offering with calves of a year old. And Jehovah shall be pleased with thousands. Will Jehovah be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He's referencing Yeshua. He has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth Jehovah require of thee, but to do justice, to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with Elohim. Jehovah's voice crieth unto the city, and the man of wisdom shall see thy name near, shall see thy name. Hear you the rod, and who hath appointed? Are there yet the treasures of the wicked in the house of the wicked, and the scant measure that is abominable? Shall I count them pure with the wicked balances, and with the bag of deceitful weights? It's because the merchants are all crooked. There's no laws against price fixing and monopolies in Israel. They do that, the big rich corporations, and they screw us over. The courts support them. The landlords make life very difficult on the tenants, and the courts support this. It's all rotten. 50% income tax, 17% like a sales tax and an import tax, 150% tax on the car, $3 a gallon tax on the gasoline. This is what it's like here. For the rich men thereof are full of violence, and the inhabitants thereof have spoken lies, and their tongue is deceitful in their mouth. Therefore also will I make thee sick in smiting thee, in making thee desolate because of my sins. Thou shalt eat but not be satisfied, and thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee, and thou shalt take hold but shalt not deliver. And that which thou deliverest will I give up to the sword. Dim prospects. Thou shalt sow, but thou shalt not reap. Thou shalt tread the olives, but thou shalt not anoint thee with oil. Sweet wine, but shalt not drink wine. For the statutes of Omri are kept, and all the works of the house of Ahab, and you walk in their counsels, that I should make thee a desolation, and the inhabitants thereof a hissing thereof. You shall bear the reproach of my people. Micah 7. Woe is me, for I am as when they have gathered the summer fruits, as the grape gleanings of the vintage. There is no cluster to eat. My soul desired the first ripe fruit. The good man is perished out of the earth, and there is none upright among men. They all lie in wait for blood. They hunt every man his brother with a net. They gyp you, they cheat you, they snare you, they sue you. That's why 2/3 of them are going to be gone. They see these practices done in other countries, in Europe, America, Russia, everywhere. And they do it here. They don't understand this is Israel. That they may do evil with both hands. Earnestly, the prince asketh. Those are people in the government. Corrupt. With both hands. They got both hands out for bribes. And the judge asketh for a reward. Anybody in Israel will tell you the judges do whatever the heck they want. They don't follow the law. And the great man, he uttereth his mischievous desire, so they wrap it up. The best of them is as a briar. The most upright is sharper than a thorn. See, they're all rotten. The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity. And that's probably about to start. Trust you not in a friend, put you not confidence in a guide. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. For the son dishonoreth the father, and the daughter rises up against the mother. Well, we read this, in the New Testament. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the men of his own house. Therefore I will look unto Jehovah, I will wait for Elohim of my salvation. God of my salvation. The word for salvation here is Yeshua, which is the root of Yeshua. My God, my Elohim will hear me. Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, Jehovah shall be a light unto me. I will bear the indignation of the anger of Jehovah, because I have sinned against him, until he plead my cause and execute judgment for me. He will bring me forth to the light, and I shall behold his righteousness. Then she that is my enemy shall see it, and shame shall cover her, which said unto me, where is Jehovah Elohim? Where is your God? My eyes shall behold her. Now shall she be trodden down as the mire in the streets. And that would be like the mud in the streets. In the day that thy walls are to be built. That takes us again to, Daniel 9, I think 25, 26. In that day shall the decree be far removed. In that day also he shall come, even to thee from Assyria, and from the fortified cities, and from the fortress, even to the river, and from sea to sea, and from mountain to mountain. Notwithstanding the land shall be desolate, because of them that dwell therein, for the fruit of their doings. It's not saying Israel's going to be desolate. The nations. Feed thy people with the rod, with thy rod. The flock of thy heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood, in the midst of Carmel, let them feed in Bashan and Gilead, as in the days of old. So we're getting land back, it appears now. According to the days of thy coming out of the land of Egypt, will I show unto him marvelous things. So, the people coming on the next great Exodus are going to see many signs and wonders. The heathen shall see and be confounded at all their might. They shall lay their hand upon their mouths, and their ears shall be deaf, all their might. So this is those on the great Exodus. So they in fact are changed when they see Yeshua coming in the clouds. Another confirmation. They shall lick the dust like a serpent. Well, they like Satan so much, the serpent, they can become like him. They shall move out of their holes like worms in the earth. This is probably the Arab terrorists in the surrounding countries with the underground bunkers and the tunnels. They come out of them. They shall be afraid of Jehovah Elohim. They shall fear because of thee. Who is a God like unto thee, that pardoneth lawlessness, and passeth by the transgression of the remnant of his heritage? He retaineth not his anger forever, because he delighteth in mercy. And that's how Israel is supposed to be, and that is how this Israel today is not. Anything against that, they're opposed to mercy. Micah 7:19, he will turn again, he will have compassion upon us. He will subdue our lawlessness, our iniquities, our lawlessness. How will he subdue it? By writing the law in our inward parts, in our heart. And they shall all know him, from the least to the greatest. And thou wilt cast all their sins into the depth of the sea. Thou wilt perform the truth to Yaakov. And that's basically referencing Yaakov's trouble, Jacob's trouble. And mercy to Abraham, which thou hast sworn unto our fathers from the days of old. The promises were made to Abraham and his seed, not seeds of many, but one, Yeshua HaMashiach. So the mercy will go to all those in Yeshua HaMashiach, as well as Jacob. So be you not native-born Israelite, you're still going to get the mercy by your faith in Yeshua. And These things are rarely ever taught, sadly. I wish they were taught commonly, but they're not. Let's see what's going on in the chat. We do have a prayer request, I so believe. Let me get it. We have an animal that needs healing, and we do pray for animals frequently, and they generally get healed. So the prayer request is for a dog named Blue, like the color blue. So the prayer request is for healing for a dog by the name of Blue, the color blue. Healing for a dog named Blue. Okay? Now, believers in Yeshua are in Israel, the real true Israel. Okay? You can be in Israel as a native-born Israelite, but you still have to come to faith in Yeshua to be in the real Israel. Okay? You can have all kinds of crazy slanted eyes or crazy eyes and colors of skin and hair or whatever. It doesn't mean beans. If you're in Yeshua, you're in. Okay? Now, being in Israel, we're not going to be redeemed until Israel is redeemed. Which happens when he appears in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power, the sign of the Son of Man, appearing like the lightning from the east to the west. Psalm 110:1 says, "Sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool." Well, when he appears in the clouds, he's on the right hand of power, so his enemies are not yet made his footstools. When he actually comes back down to earth with New Jerusalem, throwing the beast and the false prophet in the lake of fire, you see, and binding Satan for 1,000 years, you see him coming on a white horse with garments stained red, and a double-edged sword coming out of his mouth, which is the word of God, on a white horse with millions of angels on white horses as well. And he's no longer seated at the right hand of God because his enemies have been made a footstool. Well, he's returning. They don't get that. So, being part of Israel, we get saved when all Israel gets saved. So while you might know the true gospel, that's just preparation for what's to come for you. To whom much is given, much is expected. But then that gives you a chance to rack up great rewards in heaven for eternity, so that's a good thing. But redemption's going to come when the rest of Israel gets their redemption. So nobody's going to say, look, I went before you and I'm better than you, and all that. And we just have to put up with it. That's the lot that would cast, but it's a good lot. You just got to be a little bit more patient, not much more time to go. I know it could be difficult when money is tight and you got rent and bills. I know. But you got to hang on because it's close. It's at the doors. Okay? Don't give up. And don't start saying, oh, it's never going to happen. Don't go there. You can ask God for help, to keep rejoicing, stay in the faith, help you with your problems, health problems, other problems. He may not be able to help you to the extent you want because of the times. Okay? All right? So you gotta hang on. I don't have a better answer. It sounds easier than it is. It's not so easy, but not really any other remedy. I can't think of another remedy. Just gonna have to wait it out. You can pray, ask the Lord to make your way as easy as possible for these times. You all got a role to play, rest assured. I'm not exactly sure what exactly your role is, but you definitely have a role to play. I mean, you're going to be doing things. Elijah and Apostle John can't possibly do it all. There's going to be, like Yeshua, he did it and then, he left it to, 12 apostles who then, appointed through the laying on of hands, apostles, pastors, teachers, and evangelists to help with the load, the apostles, remember when they said, well, should we be sitting here spending our time serving food and taking care of the feeding of the believers, or should we be worrying about the things of God? And they appointed people to take care of the feeding and stuff like that so they could worry about and be concerned with, not worry, be concerned with the things of God and take care of those matters. And many people would rather see, if you talk to them, these believers just say, oh, go get a job. What do you need offerings for? You see? And they are. They're covetous. That's why. Oh, you're like Copeland. What do you got, a jet plane in your back pocket? Yeah, I got a fleet. I got 6 jet planes. Are you kidding? We changed our used car recently, and we got our new used cars 9 years old. So, you guys are, the covetous always have an excuse not to give offerings, but see if they make it to Israel, okay? See what their fate is. The root of all evil is mammon, and covetousness is mammon. And all the money in the world, the paper money and stuff, between now and the beginning of August is going to, for mostly all of it, be worthless, I guess, or a major portion of it. It's going to all fall apart. Their systems and their cities and their countries were built on Satan. And that's it. God restores Assyria and Egypt. And it says there's the 3, Egypt, Assyria, and Israel, my firstborn. The firstborn gets a double portion. So Why Egypt? Because for many years they were good to the Jews, the Hebrews, the slaves. Assyria delivered them out of Babylon. And Israel's his firstborn. So it's exciting to watch what's going on, and remember, you're always going to see twists and turns that come unexpectedly, like this peace treaty, and then the breaking thereof, which will definitely happen. Israel's not going to be winning any of these wars completely, because that would mean Israel was correct and rewarded for relying on her own troops, on her own army and government, which is opposed to Jehovah. So he's never going to let them, get that way, because he would be putting a snare on Israel if that's what he did, because they would think, oh, this is the right way. We just go and chase, the tanks and the planes and get more of that stuff, and that's not going to work. Okay. So, yeah, it's the year of recompenses, and they punished Hamas and Gaza terribly. Then they've punished Hezbollah a little bit, not a lot. Not a lot for Syria, and next to nothing, or nothing to the Houthis. Pretty much Israel did that. They got somewhat punished by the U.S. and the U.K., but not much. The anti-Semitism in America and even in the UK and other countries is really soaring. And I don't know if it's going to lead to ruler fighting ruler, or it's just what Mark 13 verse 8 refers to as disturbances, riots, protests. Don't know where it's going to go. Okay, do I have any questions? You can ask questions. You want to read Zechariah 12 and 13, they're run together. It's 13 is a continuation of that, and you want to read Jeremiah 30, and 31 is a continuation of Jeremiah 30. So you could read both. Okay. Well, I covered what I was intending to cover. So, I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for peace, safety, protection, and joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances, and thanks to those of you that give offerings. Pray for the animals and pets, which are all rescues, to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos. And pray that the Lord keeps answering my requests for more revelations and prophecies, particularly with timing and other things, if you don't mind. And then I generally pass it on. And that's about it. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And keep the prayers going for the installation later this week of the fiber optic, that it goes well. And that ought to make the broadcasts better, I guess. And 2 hours, that's about my time, really. I don't think I could get it less than that. So I'm out. Thank you, guys. I hope you got something out of this. Make sure you subscribe, because when the eggs hit the fan, I do emergency live streams, and you want to get notice of that. And please hit the thumbs up, so it helps with YouTube algorithm. Thank you.